If you are looking for great places to ride your gravel bike in Whistler, you're going to want to watch this video. Whistler is absolutely known for its mountain biking, but what a lot of people don't understand is there are a lot of amazing places to ride your gravel bike in Whistler as well. So today I'm going to talk about some of my all-time favorite places to ride my gravel bike while in Whistler. Okay, my number one place to ride my gravel bike while in Whistler has to be Lost Lake. Lost Lake is so conveniently located. It's just minutes outside of the town center. And it offers almost 30 kilometers of beautifully maintained gravel roads and paths that are suitable for all skill levels. One of the most popular loops around Lost Lake has to be the loop around the lake itself, which is about 5 kilometers in length. And it sticks primarily to a fairly large, wide open gravel road around the lake. And this is a ride that is really ideally suited for beginner gravel bike riders. It's reasonably flat with a few gentle climbs here and there, but for the most part, it is a fairly easy and enjoyable ride. You get amazing views of both Whistler and Blackcomb Mountains. And of course, you're right by the beautiful Lost Lake. You can access the Lost Lake trails just off the Valley Trail that travels the length of Whistler Valley. As I say, these trails are rated relatively easy. For those of you that are looking for something a little bit more challenging, you can find some more challenging trails around Lost Lake. There are a series of trails designed for mountain bikers. These are some of the ladders built for the mountain bikers that frequent Lost Lake. That for some of the more skilled and adventurous gravel riders are a real treat for riding your gravel bike. Some of the more popular trails around Lost Lake are the Tin Pants Trail and Molly Hogan Trail, both of which offer some fairly serious climbing. One of the things that I love about Lost Lake is it's a great place just to go and get a good workout. If you're looking for a quick 1 hour or 90-minute ride, Lost Lake is the ideal place to go and train for your next gravel fondo. The trails are popular with walkers and hikers, so you do have to keep that in mind when you're riding there. So just be prepared to share the trail with other users. As I say, the trails around Lost Lake are beautifully maintained. The trails are, for the most part, smooth and well graded and ideal for all skill levels. The Tin Pants Trail in particular provides a gentle introduction to gravel riding with minimal elevation gain. One of the things you have to keep in mind is when you're riding in Whistler, you are in bear country. And so even when you're riding in Lost Lake, it's not a bad idea to have a bear bell or maybe even bear spray. You will frequently encounter black bears in and around the trails around Lost Lake. The other thing you want to consider is during July and August, some of the trails are closed for the toad migration that happens every year. It's an amazing thing to watch, seeing thousands of baby toads leaving the lake and hopping off into the forests where they will spend the rest of their lives. Okay, my number 2 recommendation for gravel riding in Whistler is my favorite ride, and that has to be the ride to Brandywine Falls from Whistler along the Sea to Sky Trail. This is an opportunity to get out into the wilderness and experience the beauty of the Whistler Valley. You get these amazing mountain views. You're riding for quite some time beside these beautiful rivers. And there are amazing opportunities to cross little suspension bridges along the way. This really is one of my favorite rides in Whistler. The Sea to Sky Trail is a beautifully maintained, primarily single track trail. There are a few places where the trail turns into double track and even some old Forest Service roads. This is a ride that is reasonably demanding. If you are a beginner rider, just know that this is going to be a bit of a challenging ride. The ride from Whistler to Brandywine Falls itself is about 25 kilometers. And this is often a ride that you will do as an out and back. So the entire ride usually turns out to be about 50 kilometers long. Just be aware of that. There are some punchy climbs along the way. If you're not riding up these punchy little hills, you're usually riding up these rolling trails. There is a fair bit of climbing involved in the ride to Brandywine Falls. Again, this is a ride that takes you through bear country, so bring a bear bell, bring bear spray. Make sure you're riding with at least one other person. There's a very good chance that you will encounter bears along the ride. This is a ride where you do want to ensure that you have a relatively wide range of gearing. You want some low gears that are going to help you climb up some of those punchier hills. Make sure you're also carrying a lot of water and snacks along the way. Catherine and I have been on this ride and realized halfway through that we haven't brought along enough nutrition with us, and we have paid the price. The trailhead for this ride starts in the Olympic Athletes Village, and once you get on the trail, there are no amenities anywhere along this ride, so you have to be prepared and bring your own nutrition. This ride really does traverse through a wide variety of ecosystems. One of the most spectacular parts of the ride is riding across the suspension bridge where Whistler bungee jumping occurs. This bridge crosses over this amazing ravine that is just absolutely spectacular. I think I've said this is maybe not a ride for a beginner gravel biker, but certainly intermediate and expert riders are going to love this ride. This has to be my favorite ride in the Whistler Valley. You're oftentimes riding in the forest, so there's lots of coverage and protection from the sun. So on a hot summer day, this is a beautiful place to ride your gravel bike. Okay, my number 3 gravel bike ride in the Whistler Valley has to be the ride up to Callaghan Lake. This ride, again, you can begin in Whistler itself and ride a good portion of the Sea to Sky Trail. Eventually, you're going to come to the Callaghan Valley Access Road. This is a paved road, but what a lot of people don't realize is there is an old Forest Service road that parallels the paved highway up to Callaghan Valley. And this ride on the Forest Service road is absolutely beautiful. Again, this is maybe not a ride for beginner gravel cyclists, but certainly for intermediate and expert riders, this is an amazing ride. If you're not interested in riding from Whistler, you can always drive your bike up to the Callaghan cross country venue, and you can start from there. That ride from the cross country ski center is only about 8 kilometers out to Callaghan Lake. It is a tough climb, and the Forest Service Road to Callaghan Lake is a little chunky. So just be aware of that. Make sure that you're bringing spares with you, because you do not want to get a flat out on this road. Again, you are out in the middle of nowhere. But the views of the surrounding mountains are just incredible. And the lake itself is absolutely beautiful. If you want to do some bike packing, this would be a perfect place to go for a bike packing adventure. Again, this is an area you want to be aware that you are riding in bear country and in the Callaghan Valley. This is a place where you could potentially encounter a grizzly bear. So just be aware of that. Make sure you bring your bear spray when you are riding out to Callaghan Lake. The other thing you want to be concerned about is weather changes. You're close to the alpine by the time you get to Callaghan Lake, and the weather can change quite dramatically. So again, just be prepared. If you are starting at the cross-country ski venue, you need to leave yourself about an hour and a half to 2 hours just to complete the ride up to the lake. If you're starting in Whistler itself, you need to give yourself at least an additional hour each way for the ride. Okay, my number 4 ride in Whistler is Soo Valley. And this is a place that up until Catherine and I got our gravel bikes, we were totally unaware of. And this is a beautiful valley. It is an underrated hidden gem in the Whistler Valley. Soo Valley Forest Service Road is just about 10 or 12 kilometers north of Whistler on the road to Pemberton. You can ride Soo Valley from Whistler itself. That's going to mean a longer ride for you. Or you can drive your bikes out to the Soo Valley Forest Service Road and begin at the start of the Forest Service Road. There is a really challenging climb up to Soo Valley. Just be aware of that. This is, again, maybe not a ride for beginner gravel bikers, but certainly for intermediate and expert riders. This is a ride that is going to provide you with amazing mountain views. Again, you're in bear country, so just make sure you bring all the necessary equipment in the event that you encounter a bear. Whenever we have ridden this ride, we always see fresh bear scat on the roads. The Soo Valley Forest Service Road is maybe not the smoothest of rides, and if you're starting your ride from the beginning of the Soo Valley Forest Service Road, this is not an exceptionally long ride. You're maybe only going to ride about 10 kilometers out. There are actually Forest Service roads on either side of the Soo River. The Soo River, which runs down the center, obviously, of the Soo Valley. We've primarily ridden the North Road, but we have also taken our gravel bikes out onto the South Road as well. Each road only travels about 10 kilometers up the valley before things start to get really challenging and rough, and that's usually where we turn around. But if you're riding the Soo Valley from Whistler, you can turn this into a really solid ride of several hours. This is going to be about a 50 or 60 kilometer ride if you're starting from Whistler. If you're considering this ride, you probably want to let people know where you intend to go, just in case something happens. Once you get out into Soo Valley, the cell service is non-existent. So again, just be aware, just be prepared. You also want to make sure you're bringing lots of water, lots of fluid with you, something to eat, just in case. But as I say, what makes the Soo Valley ride so amazing are the mountain views and the views of the Soo River. It is just a spectacular place to ride your gravel bike. My number 5 ride has to be, again, the Sea to Sky Trail just north of Whistler through what's known as Gord's Garden. Gord's Garden is this massive rock slide. The Sea to Sky Trail parallels the Green River. This is again a ride that you can ride from Whistler. If you're riding from Whistler, this is going to turn into a fairly serious ride. This is maybe not a ride again for beginners, but for intermediate and expert riders, this is an absolutely glorious ride. This is perhaps one of the most picturesque rides in the Whistler Valley. For the most part, you are riding on the Sea to Sky Trail. For the most part, it is a single track trail. The trail has been really well maintained. This is a ride that is challenging in terms of the amount of climbing that you have to do. And again, this is a place where you'll want mountain bike gearing. You'll want to be able to shift into some of your lower gears in order to climb some of these really short, sharp, punchy climbs. While this is a ride that you can do from Whistler, you can also start this ride from the motocross track about halfway between Whistler and Pemberton. There's a lot of parking there. You can park your car. You can access the trail by heading south from the motocross parking area. If you're accessing the trail from the motocross parking area, this ride is maybe 10 to 15 kilometers out and another obviously 10 or 15 kilometers back. What I love most about this ride is the scenery. As I say, you're paralleling the Green River for a good portion of the ride. The views on this ride are just amazing. When you're not riding right beside the Green River, you are riding through some amazing old growth forest, and you will come across trees that are hundreds of years old. This has to be one of the most scenic rides, I think, in the Whistler Valley. So these are just a few of the best gravel rides in Whistler. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. I intend to make a series of videos covering a wide variety of regions in British Columbia in the weeks to come. So, thanks for watching.